Hello. Today I'm going to talk about the latest module I've uploaded, the AROON module or indicator. AROON is an unusual indicator in that it can give a wide variety of information. Automating it, though, can be quite challenging. And as such, it took some interesting results to get it done. So let's first enlarge this to where we can actually look at the AROON itself. AROON measures the highs and the lows of a particular price action. And then you can purchase and sell based upon the crossovers, or you can tell when the market is in a sideways status when they are parallel. This is all fine and well for a manual process, but trying to automate this process is extremely difficult and so far have been very unprofitable. So I came up with a different approach, and that is an AROON oscillator that takes the same information and applies it in a more uniform layer for automated trading. It's also a little bit easier visually to work with. So as you can see, very simple, very easy. It ranges from plus 100 to minus 100, with the buy and sell radiuses being from minus 80 or below for buying and plus 80 or above for selling. And they are, of course, configurable. But as you can see, not all markets will give you a good price action. But nonetheless, they are worth considering and using because they can do a good job. Of course, there is also a huge amount of tuning that you can do. For example, you're overbought, you're oversold, your methodology, traditional versus the crossover effect. So it's very configurable compared to the traditional AROON style. Some people even like to use lower or higher different time frames. I like this one, for example. As you can see, it does a decent job using a much wider radius. For example, purchase here, sell here. Fairly reasonable profit boundary. So there are a lot of things. Sell up here, purchase down in here. So AROON does a good job, and there are a lot of possibilities that you can really develop with it, including if you want to engage a smoothing result. For example, a lot of people like to use the whole moving average as part of their smoothing. And as you can see, by doing so, it really produces some pretty good results. Let's zoom out and take a few more looks. For example, buying down here, selling up here. Buying down in this area, selling up in this area. So there is a lot that AROON offers as an oscillator. And it is the same information that the standard AROON indicator gives you, just a lot easier to visualize and to automate with a reasonably good strategy. Now, will it work by itself? I would say probably not in most markets, and that really applies to any indicator. But there are some markets and certain settings that it will probably do very well in. For example, this has a 62.86% success rate with the current settings. Now let's tune this appropriate to a real world situation. USD, USDT, or USDC. So you can see with real world mechanics. Now we have to turn off shorting because we're in a long situation. But with real world mechanics, for 17 days, it's not necessarily that strong of an indicator by itself. But it still does reasonably well. Now, can you tune this even more? Of course. The more you tune it, the better the trend capabilities will become. For example, we can go up to 144. And if you notice, the longer the width for the two that we chose, this one gives a better result. Let's see how that works at the 1 minute level. Now, 1 minute level, it doesn't do so well. But it does do well at the 5 minute level. Let's see about the 15 minute level. It does well here. But remember, 5 minutes is 17 days. So as you go up, for example, this is 208 days, and it's only going to make you $11. So if you do choose larger time frames, be sure your position sizes are appropriate. And even still, for 208 days, this is not necessarily a good indicator. You're going to probably want something far more significant for a budget. But it does work well, it does a good job, and it does sufficiently find the highs and the lows of the markets once properly tuned. So be sure to check it out and use it and really take a good look at it. The other thing with AROON is if you don't use a smoothing and you use the defaults, which is usually 20 and none, it's not going to be very profitable at any level. The default systems are not at all what you would consider ideal for using this indicator by itself. So be aware of that when you use indicator at the default level. This module does have some careful considerations that need to be looked after. Now, I'm not necessarily going to go through and show you how it works with dollar cost averaging or anything like that, because at this point, that is pretty standard cookie cutter information. So take a look at this module, use it, make sure you understand how it works, and you can really do very good with it. Until next time.